sharing a card where I will show you how to add shading to your images using the Simple Coloring Stencil and the Altenew Blending Tool. The stamp that I will be using today is the Kind Reminders stamp set, and I am sharing 2 more cards at the Altenew blog, so be sure to check those out if you need inspiration for this stamp set. I'll place my stamps and find a nice placement for these. Once I'm happy, I will start my stamping on 110 pounds of Crest Solar White cardstock panel. I'm using Obsidian Pigment Ink for stamping. After stamping, I'll use a heat gun and go over the stamped panel so that the ink is completely dry. As I mentioned that I will be using Simple Coloring Stencil to color my images, which means I'll be using my blending tool to color in with dye inks. So I want my Obsidian ink to completely dry. For the flowers, I'll use Sunkissed, Orange Cream, Autumn Blaze and Fire Brick dye inks. I won't be using all of these inks. I will be choosing a couple of these. So you can see that I've already secured my stencil and also covered the other bits that could mess up the inking. You can also see that I have already colored the flower, but I am not showing you how I colored it because I found a better way, and I will go over that inked flower again later on once I'm done with the second flower. For this one, I will use Orange Cream dye ink, and you will notice that the way I am inking this flower, how I'm trying to concentrate the ink in the center. I will spread this orange cream inking all around. Once I'm done with the orange cream, I will also add Sunkissed dye ink for that yellow glow, because Sunkissed has a yellow hue to it, and these are a little bit more orangey than other inks. I'll use the second layer of the stencil, and now I'll apply a concentrated pigment of orange cream. I'm sorry about my voice if it's not clear. I am not well and I have a sore throat, a flu, and it's very hard for me to talk. Okay, so again I'll try to add more pigment to the center of this flower and keep the edges a tad lighter. I'll go over the second flower again, and you will see that inking on the center is more pronounced on this one, because I learned the first time around, and then in the second one I got a little better. Now for my leaves, I thought I'd use blue for a change. Again, you will have to cover up the bits of the other cutouts, the other stencil designs, in case you mistakenly ink these area and you do not want that. I chose to go with Eastern Sky Ultramarine, so I'll pick up the lightest ink first, which is Eastern Sky dye ink, and I will keep light hand because I want to keep the tips of the leaves lighter than the opposite end. I will add the darkest shading closer to the flower because the leaves are coming from under the flower, therefore they will be darker, as in they will have a shadow over them from the flower. I'll add Ultramarine dye ink with the blending tool at an angle, so the shading is only on the part I want, that is right next to the flower, and not the entire leaves. And I will reveal this to show you how amazing it looks. You do not have to do this, all the layers are enough and will make your flowers and leaves look gorgeous as is through the stencil, using the stencil as is. But this is something just a bit extra to add more dimension to that one layer card or image. As I work on the second layer, I will use the same Ultramarine dye ink, and this time with a heavy hand. The thing that is brilliant is that this tool is fairly large, but it was so easy to add that shading on that little area I wanted only by using the blending tool at an angle. I thought I would need a smaller size tool, but this worked too. I mean, you can see for yourself that I didn't try too hard, and this is my first time using the coloring stencils, guys. Also the blending tool in this way at an angle to add shading. So please do try this. What's the most that could happen? You'll mess up the flower or leaf like I did mine, but I fixed it, didn't I? And it wasn't even a mistake. I just thought it needed a bit of shading, and it looked a bit one-dimensional to me. And after adding that a little bit of shading, it did add that 4-dimension. Once I'm done coloring or shading all the flowers and leaves, I decided to add a bit more of that 4-dimension. I'm using grays from the artist marker set B, and I will start by adding the darkest to some points on the panel where I think there will be most shadow. Next, I will use a second marker and add it to other places where I want to show slightly lighter shadows, and I will also use this to blend the darkest marker pigment that I just laid down. After this, I'll use the third marker, that is the second lightest, and blend out all the shadows I added and make it slightly thicker. The fourth or the lightest marker is used to blend the shadow and create that natural looking but in reality full depth. I will also add this lightest ink on the areas where I didn't add shadow previously, just so that the outline doesn't look too stark against the white with all the shadow elsewhere. By the way, do you remember I stamped with Obsidian ink, and I am using my artist markers? It was a happy surprise to see that the Obsidian wasn't spreading, but I am only using grays, so maybe it's not as noticeable. You might want to try this ink with markers, the Obsidian with artist markers and some other color other than gray. Alright, so I changed my mind and started coloring the background in horizontal strokes using the same lightest marker, and I kind of liked it. Now I'll just stamp the sentiment in Obsidian ink. Then I'll add a few fine black paint splatters and my card is done. So I hope you will try to add shading to your images using the Simple Coloring Stencil. If you do try and share, don't forget to tag me or Altenew on Instagram. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!